Carmer stood on the observation deck of the Irith Research Complex, a towering facility buried beneath the planet's rugged surface. He gazed through the reinforced glass at rows of containment chambers that shimmered under bright fluorescent lights. Within each chamber lurked mutated remains of species once proud of their defining traits. Some had lost the very essence that set them apart, devolving into grotesque parodies of their former selves. This site was a testament to the Genathal virus, an ancient bioweapon the Irith had unearthed from a forgotten civilization. Carmer's dark, reptilian-like eyes narrowed in grim satisfaction. He took pride in Irith's supremacy, and no demonstration was more potent than these chilling exhibits of what happened when a virus was unleashed. Behind him, Erilyn approached, her footsteps tentative on the polished floor. She was noticeably younger and far slighter in build than Carmer, and her scientific robes swished with each step. Erilyn looked uneasy, as she often did when confronted by the results of their research. She had been the first to isolate the virus's properties and confirm its devastating mode of action. It targeted whatever trait a species prized most, turning that source of pride into a hideous liability. She remembered how the Eftarians, celebrated for their delicate beauty, had sprouted distorted appendages in place of their finely chiseled features. Gorans, proud of their brute strength, found themselves weaker than children. Even their own Irith test subjects, unluckily exposed during early trials, were stripped of the scales they so valued for protection. The virus was methodical and horrifying, and it never failed. Until now, there had been no exception. Carmer sensed her presence and turned. "We've seen what it can do," he said, gesturing to the closest chamber. Inside it, the remains of a once powerful Drex warrior lay in a stasis field, and we've confirmed its effect on 37 different species. He paused, stepping back to contemplate Erilyn. "Now, the High Council wants us to move forward with a large-scale demonstration against the humans. They're too ambitious, too scattered, and too unpredictable to be allowed free rein in this part of the galaxy." Erilyn took a measured breath. She had reviewed the logs detailing every known instance of the virus at work and found consistency in the cruelty. The virus always homed in on a species' central pride. Yet something about humans unsettled her. From the limited data she had studied, they were a species rife with contradictions. Some believed themselves destined for greatness. Others lamented their inherent flaws. Their cultural fragmentation was legendary, and their adaptability unmatched. "I've been researching them," Erilyn said quietly. "They're unlike anyone we've tested. You doubt the virus's efficacy?" Carmer's tone was edged with warning. "I don't doubt it," she replied, though uncertainty sat like a weight on her chest. "But humans are complicated. I'd prefer more time to study them before full deployment. Besides, the humans stationed on Stellar Labs 14 are primarily researchers, not soldiers." "That's precisely why they're perfect test subjects," Carmer countered. "They are numerous, but isolated on that orbital station. If we can prove the virus will break them, we can prove it's ready for wider use." Erilyn nodded, masking her misgivings. The virus was more than a biological agent to her. It was a relic of a civilization that understood the power of vanity, arrogance, and self-worth. It punished those who held themselves in too high esteem. Yet she worried that the humans might not respond in the neat, predictable way the Irith wanted. The old text she had deciphered hinted the virus carried a deeper function than mere destruction. She kept these reservations to herself, fearful of how Carmer and the High Council would react. That evening, Erilyn departed the observation deck and took the elevator to her private laboratory. Secure behind multiple checkpoints, her lab was lined with holopanels displaying reams of data on genetic markers from each species tested. Her gaze settled on the newest file, H. Sapiens. She tapped it open and scrolled through countless lines of data describing the species' biology, their odd combination of fragility and resilience, their intellect and emotional complexity. Reports from Irith scouts revealed that humans could both marvel at themselves and disdain their own limitations. She wondered what the virus would even choose to target in creatures so divided in self-perception. She extracted a sealed canister from a wall compartment. Its translucent sides revealed a swirling substance, faintly luminescent. This was the genathal virus, meticulously cultivated from ancient spores. She had grown familiar with its ominous radiance, but each time she held it, she felt a tremor of dread. If unleashed, it would eventually worm its way into every cell of an infected host. It was a living curse, one that had spelled doom for dozens of civilizations that had grown too certain of themselves. Erilyn sealed the canister in a reinforced case. In a few hours, she would accompany Carmer and his tactical team to Stellar Labs 14 under the guise of scientific collaboration. The official reason: an IRIS delegation seeking joint research initiatives with human geneticists. The true goal: release the virus into the station's life support systems. The mission demanded precision. The humans could not suspect sabotage until it was too late. Carmer had chosen Erilyn for her knowledge of xenobiology, but she wondered if he also suspected her curiosity might lead her to discover unexpected things on site. When Erilyn finally rested on her bunk that night, the complexities of the mission weighed heavily on her mind. She recalled the anguish of the Goran champions, reduced to trembling wraiths bereft of strength. She recalled the Eftarians, once proud of being the galaxy's pinnacle of aesthetic perfection, now writhing in monstrous forms. Each time, the virus twisted that pride into horror. But humans might harbor pride in intangible qualities. They lauded their ingenuity, adaptability, emotional depth, but they also lamented their shortcomings. Which aspect would the virus target if the species itself could not decide what it valued most? She slept fitfully, dreaming of swirling lights and half-formed human faces. In the dream, those faces shifted from expressions of despair to fierce determination. She didn't know whether it was a prophecy or just her mind playing out doubts that she could not voice in waking hours. Morning came all too soon. Erilyn gathered her notes, her case containing the virus, and joined Carmer's strike team as they boarded the Iris shuttle. Within the hour, the ship launched into orbit, their destination set, Stellar Labs 14. The station, from a distance, resembled a metallic ring spinning slowly against the backdrop of an orange star. As the Iris shuttle approached, communications crackled with the voice of a human flight officer granting docking clearance. Carmer wore a polished uniform adorned with Iris insignia, projecting an air of politeness spiked with intimidation. Erilyn had chosen simpler attire, a standard research suit that could easily blend with any facility's environment. She clutched the secure case, its digital locks verifying her biosignature. Upon disembarking, they were greeted by Dr. Amelia Green, the station's lead geneticist. Amelia was tall, with short crop hair and eyes that glimmered with intelligence. Carmer introduced himself and Erilyn, explaining that they had come to explore possible cooperative projects in xenobiology. Though polite, Dr. Green's gaze held cautious curiosity. The Irith had a formidable reputation for pushing scientific boundaries, sometimes past ethical limits. Even so, she welcomed them with a tour, showing off the station's advanced research labs and greenhouses. Stellar Labs 14 was a microcosm of human ingenuity: hydroponic experiments to sustain life on barren worlds, neural technology that allowed them to control drones for remote exploration, and entire sections dedicated to studying other civilizations' biology. It was, in short, the perfect place for Erilyn to set her plan in motion. Walking the corridors, Erilyn observed humans in all shapes, sizes, and dispositions. She noted signs of stress or health issues in some. A man with a clearly prosthetic arm that whirred each time he moved, a woman rubbing her temples as if migraines plagued her, an older researcher with a limp. From overhead, she caught intermittent announcements calling for lab volunteers or reminding staff about mandatory rest cycles. It seemed the station was teeming with imperfection, with challenges that these scientists faced daily. And yet they carried on. She wondered if the virus would interpret this mindset as pride or something else entirely. Eventually, Dr. Green led them to a grand central foyer, surrounded by glass walls that revealed a breathtaking view of stars. At the center of the room was a large cylindrical structure, part of the station's environmental control system. Carmer asked a few routine questions, keeping his tone neutral. He excused himself to examine the structural design, leaving Erilyn alone with Dr. Green for a moment. Erilyn made small talk while discreetly scanning the area, ensuring that the infiltration plan Carmer had devised was viable. The vent systems branching off that cylinder would distribute the virus to the entire station within hours. She felt the cold weight of the secure case in her hands, a reminder of what she was about to do. The flicker of guilt rose inside her. She forced a calm smile when Dr. Green asked if she was feeling all right. Erilyn blamed the station's artificial gravity for her unease and excused herself to meet Carmer near a cluster of maintenance consoles. Once Dr. Green was out of sight, Erilyn knelt beside the sealed vent access, carefully installing a small dispersal device. Carmer stood watch, ensuring none of the station's personnel noticed them. Within moments, a quiet hiss marked the virus's release in Stellar Labs 14. They regrouped and continued the station tour as if nothing had happened. Yet Erilyn's heart pounded in her chest. She pretended to admire a row of experimental cryo chambers, while behind her eyes a wave of regret began to form. The humans had received them with caution, but also sincerity. Would they suspect sabotage? Usually, the virus remained undetected for a while, manifesting initially as a mild flu. Erilyn found herself hoping that, even if the station discovered the cause, it would be before any catastrophic transformations occurred. Then again, how catastrophic could it be for a species that might not share a singular point of vanity? Later that day, Dr. Amelia Green hosted a small welcome dinner in one of the station's communal areas. Carmer was all formal smiles, toasting Irith human cooperation. Erilyn picked at her food, scanning the faces of the human researchers. She felt a pang of sympathy each time she thought of what was circulating through the air vents. The meal ended with polite chatter and promises of collaboration. By nightfall station time, the Irith delegation was shown to their guest quarters. Erilyn locked herself in, shoulders sagging as she sank onto a bunk. It was done. Now came the waiting. 3 days later, the first signs of illness emerged among the humans. Reports trickled in of staff complaining of fatigue, headaches, low-grade fevers. Dr. Green and her medical team analyzed samples, finding a pathogen with bizarre genetic markers. Erilyn watched the results from behind the scenes, tapping into the station's system using a covert link. Though the virus's structure aligned perfectly with the monstrous tool she knew it to be, the symptoms remained curiously mild. In other species, the earliest stage had been marked by violent cell changes and excruciating pain. Here, it seemed almost benign. She shared the data with Carmer, who grew impatient. "Where are the grotesque mutations?" he demanded in a hushed tone during one of their private debriefs. "Why are we seeing them collapse from the same horrors we observed before?" The Eftarians were almost unrecognizable by this point. The Gorans lost half their muscle mass after 5 days. "I don't know," Erilyn confessed, "but the virus is definitely spreading. Everyone in the station has been exposed by now. Perhaps it's working on a more subtle level." He snorted. "The High Council expects results." Then his gaze darkened. "If the humans remain unaffected, our demonstration is meaningless." Later that afternoon, Erilyn slipped into a deserted corridor leading to the station's upper medical ring. She concealed herself behind an intersecting bulkhead door and listened to the chatter of 2 human nurses. "Isn't it odd?" one nurse said. "We've got about 20 patients in observation, but none are showing any sign of the degenerative changes we saw in those old council records of xenoviruses. Most are actually recovering faster than expected." "Dr. Green thinks it's some sort of mild strain," the other replied. "She's working round the clock, but the patients are surprising everyone. One of them had chronic asthma for years. She says she's breathing better than ever." Erilyn's pulse quickened. Breathing better? That was the opposite effect from what the virus had done to other species. She hurried away before the nurses spotted her. That evening, She reviewed station logs. A man with a prosthetic arm reported improved nerve feedback, while a researcher with debilitating migraines claimed near-total relief. It was as if the virus had found vulnerabilities within these humans and was repairing them instead of inflicting monstrous change. Karma refused to believe it. He grilled Erilyn on whether she had modified the virus or made an error cultivating the strain. Erilyn swore she hadn't. No matter how many tests she ran on the samples, the virus was still the genathal strain, complete with the ancient coding that unleashed physical or psychological torment on its hosts. Yet something about humans was disrupting that pattern, twisting it into a force of healing. They were flawed, yes, and perhaps that was key. In many species, the prized attribute was worn like an unbreakable shield, an ultimate source of superiority. Humans, however, were riddled with doubt and variation. Their pride was scattered across a dozen traits, and they harbored a baseline acceptance of their imperfections. Curiosity bloomed in Erilyn's mind. She started collecting clandestine data. The best example was Rick O'Malley, the man with a mechanical arm. Over a week, his nerve interface began integrating with the prosthetic so seamlessly that Dr. Green's team declared it a medical breakthrough. Serena Lynn, a station psychologist prone to severe anxiety attacks, noted her stress levels decreasing and her clarity of thought rising. Another researcher's chronic back pain disappeared as though it had never existed. The changes were beneficial, with no visible downside. By the 10th day, station leadership enforced a quarantine, suspecting they were facing a mysterious contagion. No one was allowed to leave or dock without special permission. Still, no severe illness had occurred, and the station's population seemed more energetic than usual. Dr. Green's official bulletins described the phenomenon as an enhanced immune response to an unknown pathogen. She called for calm, reminding everyone that the infection was widespread, but so far harmless. Karma scoffed at her words whenever he read them on the station's network, but privately, he stewed. The situation was dire for Irith's strategy. If the virus was fortifying these humans, the High Council would hold Karma responsible for the fiasco. Meanwhile, Erilyn found herself confiding discreetly in Dr. Green. She did not reveal her direct responsibility for the virus's presence, but she let slip her knowledge of ancient civilizations, hinting that this pathogen had once been used to punish arrogance. Dr. Green, perplexed but intrigued, shared her emerging hypothesis. From what I see, it's seeking out each person's biggest vulnerability, she said, scanning a hologram of the virus's genetic structure. And instead of exploiting it, it's rewiring it. Like it can't detect a single source of human pride, so it's latching onto weaknesses and rectifying them. Erilyn nodded, heart pounding. That would mean humans, collectively, don't truly agree on what they value most about themselves. She chose her words carefully. And so the virus is interpreting their vulnerabilities as the defining traits to modify. This could revolutionize medical science, Dr. Green said with wonder. I've never seen anything like it. What if we could harness this for gene therapy or regenerative medicine? It's rewriting cellular instructions in a matter of days. In her private logs, Erilyn detailed each astounding case. Illnesses reversed, chronic injuries ameliorated, even psychological barriers lifted. The more she witnessed, the more she realized that unleashing this virus on humanity had accidentally created a scenario where an ancient weapon of destruction became a tool of enhancement. Karma was not content to accept such an outcome. One night, while most of the station slept, he summoned Erilyn to a dimly lit cargo bay. We must cleanse this place, he growled. Destroy the labs, the records, anything that might help humans replicate the virus. The High Council can't allow them to weaponize a beneficial version. If we can't revert it to its original destructive purpose, we'll ensure it never helps them. Erilyn's throat tightened. She understood what Karma implied. Sabotage on a grand scale, possibly lethal for many humans on board. She also knew that station security had begun suspecting the Irith delegation of introducing the pathogen. Guilt clawed at her. There are thousands of people up there, she whispered. You saw them. They're not soldiers, their researchers, families even. Karmer's expression was cold. They're still humans. If they figure out how to harness this virus, nothing will stop them from becoming a threat. Their adaptability is already well known. You know how they expand, how their technology leaps forward once they find a new tool. She hesitated. Give me more time. Let me find a way to sabotage their progress without killing them all. We can at least remove the data or degrade the samples. He glowered. Fine. But if you fail, I'll do it my way. Though relieved to gain a short reprieve, Erilyn felt sick. She returned to her quarters, hands trembling. She could not follow through with mass destruction. The transformations she had seen convinced her that humans might be on the verge of a biomedical revolution. What if that saved countless lives across the galaxy? Was that not worth preserving? Yet her loyalty to the Irith demanded caution. If the High Council deemed her a traitor, her life was forfeit. She took steps to warn Dr. Green of possible sabotage, using an encoded message disguised in a routine data file. Dr. Green confronted her the next morning, leading her to a secure backroom in the station's med bay. There, among shelves of sealed biosample containers, Dr. Green demanded answers. Erilyn confessed, though not entirely, that someone within the Irith ranks had introduced the virus intentionally, and that this person now sought to ensure humanity did not gain from it. When Dr. Green asked why, Erilyn explained the virus's true origin as a weapon. She offered partial truths about its effect on other species and the catastrophic results that had always ensued. This is the first time. It's behaved differently, Erilyn said. I wasn't sure how it would react to humans, but I never expected this. Dr. Green's face was a mixture of anger and fascination. You brought it here, she murmured, shoulders tense. People could have died, but instead, we're on the verge of cures for conditions we once thought permanent. I was ordered to sabotage you further, Erilyn admitted softly, eyes downcast. But I can't do it. I believe there's too much potential here. I don't want any more harm done. A siren wailed across the station, cutting short their conversation. Over the public address system, the commanding officer announced a Level 2 security breach in the main lab block. Erilyn's heart sank. She and Dr. Green raced out to find chaos in the corridors. Station security had pinned down Karmer and 2 Irith operatives near the primary data center. Blaster marks scorched the metal walls, and a small maintenance robot was ablaze. Karmer had nearly succeeded in planting explosives among the server stacks where Dr. Green stored her research. Guards wrestled him to the ground, weapon forcibly removed from his grip. Erilyn stood by, cold dread flooding her veins. She knew Karmer would betray her to save himself if pressed. Indeed, as he glared at her through the smoke-filled air, she heard him shout accusations. It was her plan. She's the one who introduced this plague. Guards halted, turning suspicious eyes on Erilyn. Dr. Green stepped between them and shouted an order to stand down, stating that Erilyn had been cooperating to prevent sabotage. Yet seeds of doubt were sown, and the station security looked ready to detain her as well. Caught in the tension, Erilyn raised her palms slowly. I don't want violence, she said, voice shaking. She placed herself at the mercy of the humans, trusting that Dr. Green would vouch for her. It worked barely. The guards cuffed Karmer and the other Irith saboteurs, escorting them to a containment cell. Erilyn was detained separately, but held under Dr. Green's supervision. Because she had assisted with the virus research and provided an early warning, Station Command was willing to listen before deciding her fate. Over the next few days, the sabotage attempt was contained, but the tension across the station remained high. Karmer and his men refused to speak further, convinced their mission was a failure. Dr. Green and her team persevered in analyzing the virus. Strange improvements continued among the human population. A technician with partial blindness began noticing clearer vision. An older scientist's arthritic joints no longer pained him. The phenomenon had reached a point where the entire station buzzed with excitement. A mild quarantine had turned into a remarkable study in beneficial mutation. Some feared a hidden price, but thus far, no ill effects emerged. Erilyn, confined to quarters under guard, was allowed to review the medbay data. She pored over the statistics, gene sequences that had stabilized chronic conditions, neurological rewrites that boosted memory recall in a handful of subjects, even a slow regeneration of lost tissue in one test case. It was more advanced than any healing process she had witnessed. She took notes, forging a small synergy with Dr. Green, who visited daily to exchange observations. Each day, the question loomed: should the station announce this discovery to the wider galaxy? Conspiratorial rumors spread among the crew that if word got out, other species would either try to claim the station or destroy it, fearing a new superweapon in human hands. Dr. Green and senior leadership worried about a massive arms race if the knowledge became public. The same virus that once spelled certain doom for entire civilizations was now an object of hope. But the line between hope and terror was razor thin. One misguided faction could replicate or twist the virus, leading to uncontrollable outcomes. A series of tense meetings ensued among Station Command. Erilyn was occasionally summoned to offer insight into Irith motives. She warned them that the High Council would send forces to retrieve or eradicate any successful version of the virus. The humans faced a crossroads: keep this miracle a secret or risk drawing the wrath of advanced militaries from across the galaxy. Many in the station felt obligated to share the cure for numerous ailments, but Dr. Green, now intimately aware of the danger, argued that humanity wasn't prepared for the political backlash. During one private conversation, Rick O'Malley visited Erilyn's improvised holding area. He flexed his prosthetic arm, which now moved so smoothly it felt like flesh and blood. The robotics integrated with his nervous system in a way that astounded him. "This is life-changing," he said, voice raw with emotion. "I can't thank you enough for letting the virus in, though I know it wasn't meant to help us. Still, here we are." She managed a small, sad smile. "I only regret it came under false pretenses. The plan was never for you to benefit from it. It was meant to exploit the weaknesses your people hold dear." His eyes flickered with a complicated mixture of anger and gratitude. "Your friend tried to blow us up, but you tried to protect us. That's something I'll remember if Station Command decides your fate." Then he told her that, for the first time since losing his arm in a catastrophic accident, he didn't wake up each day feeling incomplete. The virus had mended a piece of him that advanced prosthetics alone could not. Some days later, Dr. Green and Station Command reached a decision. They would keep the virus's positive effects classified for the time being, at least until they understood it fully. That meant no official transmissions beyond the station regarding the beneficial transformations. The station remained under quarantine, disguised as a lingering caution about an unknown pathogen. Meanwhile, Dr. Green quietly tasked her most trusted colleagues to replicate a small sample of the virus in specialized labs, hoping to control and guide its therapeutic properties. She asked Erilyn to assist, promising leniency in exchange for her expertise. Erilyn hesitated. She recognized that by helping the humans refine the virus, she was betraying her own species. But she also saw a chance at redemption. If the virus could truly heal, it might save countless lives and ease suffering. She no longer believed in the Iritha's cold strategy of subjugation. She had spent her life studying advanced genetics, and now she stood on the threshold of a medical revolution. "I'll help," she finally told Dr. Green. "But if the Irith come for me, we'll protect you," Dr. Green replied, offering a reassuring hand on her shoulder. At that moment, an alarm rang out through the corridors. An incoming Irith warship had dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the station, apparently responding to Carmir's distress signal. Defensive systems on Stellar Labs 14 scrambled. The warship's presence threatened the precarious secrecy of the station's discovery. Through the observation windows, they could see a massive silhouette against the stars, bristling with weaponry. Over the comm channels, an Irith officer demanded the release of their people and immediate explanation for the station's infected state. Station Command refused. They had Carmir and his men in custody for attempted sabotage. A tense standoff ensued. The warship threatened to breach the station forcibly if the Irith operatives were not returned. Dr. Green and her leadership had no illusions. If a boarding party seized control, they would confiscate all data or purge the entire station. Desperate negotiations began behind the scenes, with Irith representatives and station delegates exchanging coded transmissions. Carmir, confined to a cell, was given a chance to speak with the warship's commander. He tried to order them to deploy lethal force, but the High Council's direct observer, an Irith named Vasra, took over negotiations. Vasra wanted to avoid an interstellar incident that might unite other species against the Irith. When Station Command proposed a quiet prisoner exchange, with an agreement to keep the virus's beneficial effects hidden, Vasra saw an opportunity. She demanded the station's official guarantee that no data about the virus would ever be shared with other civilizations. In return, the Irith would pull back, leaving the station in isolation. Dr. Green and her fellow leaders found themselves caught between moral obligations and the harsh realities of galactic politics. If they refused, the Irith might destroy them outright. If they complied, they preserved lives but lost any immediate chance to share the virus's healing capabilities widely. Erilyn and Rick urged caution. They couldn't risk thousands of deaths if a full-scale Irith assault ensued. In a makeshift conference room, Station Command hammered out a temporary deal. They would turn over Carmir and the other Irith operatives, then sign a non-disclosure agreement about the virus, promising not to release it outside the station. Vasra, satisfied to retrieve her people, agreed to withdraw the warship. Erilyn was given the choice to leave with them or stay. She hesitated briefly. Returning meant facing the High Council's potential wrath. Staying meant a life among humans, helping them refine this remarkable agent of change. She chose to remain. The Irith warship departed, carrying Carmir and the disgruntled sabotage team back to Irith territory. For a time, it seemed that Stellar Labs 14 would be left alone. Erilyn was officially designated a special advisor, her movements monitored to ensure no repetition of infiltration. Yet as days turned into weeks, the station staff continued to refine the virus in secret. Under Dr. Green's direction, they developed containment protocols and even teased out early-stage therapies that could be tested in control conditions. Rick's arm integration reached near-perfect synergy. Serena Lynn's anxieties abated, allowing her to expand her psychological research with astonishing clarity. Miracles, large and small, permeated the station's daily life. Still, a heavy question lingered in every corridor. Was there a hidden cost? Erilyn helped run simulations, searching for any delayed negative effects or lurking genetic time bombs. So far, no evidence of backlash emerged. Human physiology was proving endlessly adaptable, soaking up the virus's rewriting in a way that might have been unique in the galaxy. Some speculated that if the virus had been truly designed as a punisher, it had encountered a species whose pride was so fractured that it morphed into a fixer instead. Others posited that humans possessed a deeply subconscious yearning for self-improvement that the virus translated into beneficial mutations. The crew of Stellar Labs 14 decided to keep studying quietly without external entanglements. They knew that if the galaxy at large discovered a healing virus capable of rewriting biology, the station would become a flashpoint for war. For now, they were content to learn at their own pace. Erilyn took notes on every improvement, every new revelation. She sometimes found herself marveling at how a single release of an ancient weapon had turned into an unprecedented collaboration. Though she missed her homeworld, she could not deny a sense of wonder that touched her every day. She saw children, once afflicted by hereditary conditions, running around the station's corridors with boundless energy. She saw elder scientists standing upright, freed from decades of chronic pain. Even Dr. Green's migraines never returned. In the hush of the med bay one late evening, Erilyn recorded a final log entry. Humans may be more extraordinary than we ever guessed. Their capacity for adaptation was always rumored, but this surpasses rumor. I wonder if the ancient creators of the Genathal virus foresaw this possibility, that one day a species might bend its mechanism to heal rather than destroy. Or perhaps this is purely an accident of cosmic chance. Either way, we stand on the edge of a new epoch. She closed her notes, gazing out a small porthole at the swirling cosmos. For better or worse, she was now aligned with these humans. She believed they had potential not just to uplift themselves, but to help others when the time was right. While the Irith High Council might still hunger for absolute power, here, in the quiet hum of the station's life support systems, progress took a different shape. This was how a once-feared bioweapon became a beacon of hope. And Erlin, who had once delivered destruction, now guided the station toward a cautious but awe-inspiring future. No one could say what ramifications would follow. Perhaps the Irith would return to enforce their will, or other alien powers would attempt to seize the secrets. But for now, humanity had absorbed the virus, turning an instrument of ruin into something that brimmed with possibilities. They remained flawed, fractious, and uncertain in many ways. Yet in those very imperfections, they had found the key to defy a curse that had decimated civilizations far grander. And as Erlin drifted off to sleep that night, she felt more hope for the galaxy than she ever had before.